G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Ian McCarthy from Blue Claw Associates based in Cape Cod, United States. Thanks for your time today, Ian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's start with how we know each other. So Brendan from 10X Stages, who we've got here in the call. So maybe say g'day, Brendan, to the audience.
Hey, everybody. Brendan with Grant Cardone's 10X Stages. Lucky to be on here.
And you put us in touch. You thought Ian might be a good guest to have on here, Brendan. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So tell our audience a bit about your business and what it does and how it makes money.
So we're a landscape and masonry contractor. We do landscape construction, stone walls, softscape, hardscape, pools, and we also then bring in a maintenance package when the project is complete, so we maintain properties as well.
Fantastic. How did you start out?
So I started out in the mid 90s. I was actually an accountant on Nantucket Island, and I was bored to tears doing accounting, sitting at a desk. But I was living vicariously through my clients because my clients all had different types of businesses, and that fascinated me. And I think that was initially my entrepreneurial urges kind of coming out of me. And I had one of my clients happened to be a landscaper, and I prepared the numbers for him in order to sell the business to a father and son. And in the spring, the father unexpectedly passed away. And so the sale was canceled, and he offered it to anyone who wanted to buy it for $50,000. And, it came with hundreds of clients and trucks and trailers and equipment. So myself and two other people in the accounting business, we bought the business. And that's literally how I jumped into landscaping.
Wow. That's a really interesting way to get into it.
Yeah, and many other contractors grow up, mowing lawns or digging ditches and doing plants. And I did not have the benefit of doing that, but I had another benefit, which was knowing numbers prior to getting involved.
Yeah, which is obviously, as we both know, I'm a numbers person as well, critical for business success, let alone growth. So you've jumped out from behind the desk out into the outdoors. Did you get on the tools much yourself?
I have not been in the field as much. I cannot build a stone wall, but I can tell people how to build it correctly.
Yep. And what year was that, and how old were you when you started that business?
That was 1996, and I was 26 years old.
Yeah, good, fantastic. Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business?
So that was actually my first company. That company we purchased was doing about $300,000 a year as a maintenance company, and I owned it for 10 years. I ended up buying out the other two partners, and we reached $4 million in sales by 2005. And then in 2006, I sold that company for an opportunity in sports, which is another topic, but be happy to go into that if you're interested. And then Blue Claw Associates was launched in 2018 from scratch. And it was kind of a reconstitution of former employees that came to a cookout at my house and encouraged me to start over again. And we started in 2018, like I said, at zero. And right now we're at the 10 million mark in revenue.
Oh,
4
fantastic.
years later.
Well done. That is terrific growth. Yeah. And so how many team members did you start with at Blue Claw, and where are you at now?
The entire year of 2018, we had 2 employees and 1 truck, and we did about 300,000 in 7 months. And right now we're on track for 10 million this year, and we have about 60 team members.
Oh, wonderful. And you've got a workshop coming up. Did you want to maybe mention that?
Yeah, so through my landscape business and being involved in other landscape groups, a lot of younger contractors have reached out to me and asked me to help them with certain topics. One being learning their numbers and pricing, because a lot of contractors will just copy hourly rates or square foot rates, and they really don't know whether the prices they're putting out is going to ultimately result in a profit for the company. Because you can actually make money on every job, but your company still lose money overall. And so I created workshops last year. We went around the country doing them, called Know Your Numbers, and they were very popular, got a lot of positive feedback. People said it changed their life, changed their business. So this year we have 13 of them planned for all around the United States, and starting this weekend in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, fantastic. We'll link through to that in the show notes. I think some of the audience there would be interested in that. Have you heard of Monique Allen from the Garden Continuum? I had her on episode 193. She's in landscaping.
I haven't had the privilege of meeting her.
I might shoot that through to you, Ian. That podcast, if you're interested. Yeah. When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
Well, I had always wondered if I made a mistake selling my first company, and I sold it rather abruptly because I had an opportunity to go into professional basketball, and that was the shiny, flashy, fun thing. And so I rushed to make that happen, and I had friends who were kind of at my same level that had grown big businesses, and even the first year of Blue Claw with 2 employees, I was having fun, but I was kind of wondering, like, am I ever going to get back to that level? And I would say that once we landed our first big project with a landscape architect, ended up being a $1.8 million project. I think right when we were in the middle of that project, I felt like, okay, I'm on the right track to where I want to go.
Yeah, fantastic. And maybe touch on the sports business. So what happened there? And how long? That was 2005, was it?
That was 2006, pretty much.
Yep.
I bought a minor league basketball team called the Boston Frenzy. Kobe Bryant, the late Kobe Bryant's father, was the coach at the time. And, I grew up in Washington, D.C., so I was a basketball junkie. And this was, as my wife said, a midlife crisis to go into sports. But I did it originally as just a hobby, but we realized that we didn't have any good venues here. It was just high schools. So we moved the team to Manchester, New Hampshire to go to a bigger venue. And that's when I realized I had to make a decision between one business or the other. And so I sold my first landscaping company off and went to New Hampshire. And after 3 years there, we were offered a title sponsorship by a company in Canada to relocate. So we moved to St. John, New Brunswick in Canada to a 6,000 seat arena. And after year 1, myself and one of the other team owners decided to start the first professional league in Canada. So we called it the National Basketball League of Canada. That was 2011. And I did that all the way until 2016. And it was probably the funnest thing I've ever done, because any guy who loves sports, they always dream about being able to manage the club. And that's what I got to do. And it was a blast.
Yeah, I'm a big sports fan, especially basketball. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. That would have been a lot of fun. And congratulations too on being part of, getting the Canadian National Basketball League up and going. That's a phenomenal achievement.
We had to go against the hockey history there. That everybody loves hockey, but we actually had some professional players on our team that spent some time in Australia, so we got familiar with the Australian Pro League as well.
Yeah, we have a monthly meetup here in Hobart and another one up north in Launceston. And last week in Hobart, the coach of our Jack Jumpers basketball team, we haven't been in the National Basketball League in Australia for 20 years, and last year we won the last game to get into the finals and made it into the grand final. So we had a hugely successful team. So the coach and the CEO both spoke last week at the meetup, and I was really interested to hear the CEO say that the National Basketball League in Australia here is the second highest quality league in the world, obviously after the NBA.
Right.
What does success look like to you?
I think if you can create a company that gives opportunity to employees to grow their careers, obviously you have to be profitable to be sustainable. And then make clients happy. For us, we work a lot with landscape architects, so we don't just have the homeowner client, but we have our architect partner who brings us into the picture. When they see that their client is happy, that really gives us a great feeling, because we know that we're going to keep building that relationship. So I think it's all about relationships, whether it's clients, professionals, even employees are your internal clients. So as long as you're doing well by all those people, I think that's how you define success.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Well, there's a saying that I like to go by. It's better known beats best. So you can be the best at something, but if you're not known, or if someone else is better known, they're probably going to beat you in the marketplace. So I like to create a splash in the marketplace. initially, obviously, you have to do the grunt work of marketing the company, whether it's flyers, social media. I'm big about Instagram, finding people that you want to follow you and following them so that they'll follow you back. Picking up the phone, visiting job sites, going into architects' offices. In the beginning, you really got to be like a hunter. You're going after your prey and whatever you can do to get well known. And of course, in sports, it was all about marketing the team. So I learned a lot about that type of marketing, which I applied to the landscaping company. And also, when I came up with the name Blue Claw Associates, it was very unique for the area, and people always remember the crab. So it's got to be something that people can just remember off the top of their head quickly, and it makes an impression. Think about like the McDonald's arches. Kid knows exactly what that is. So I would say that you got to get your company very well known in the marketplace. And then what is your brand? Is your brand going to be the elite service and provider, or are you going to be quick and dirty and cheap? Both can be successful, but you got to define who you are.
Yeah. And how did you fund the business?
So I bootstrapped it. I had a job with a landscape company for a year, and they ended up selling to private equity. So kind of when I saw the handwriting on the wall, I started, funneling my paychecks towards starting my own business. And in construction, you get a deposit up front. So I was able to bankroll the company from doing construction initially and then rolling into maintenance later on.
Yeah. And that was funding the first landscaping business. That's how you funded that?
Well, I would say this is more the Blue Claw company. The first company was much smaller, and so we did bootstrap it, but you do a month of work and send out the bills and collect it.
And at Blue Claw, is it just you're the only owner there, or you got investors in?
No, I'm the sole owner.
Yeah, fantastic. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I think I would, because it's a ripe market here. I mean, we have what we call a target-rich environment. We have a lot of second homeowners, wealthy individuals, because we work on Cape Cod and Nantucket Island as well. And there's a saying that whoever is the winner in the economy currently, they live in Nantucket for the summer. And if those people lose their money, they sell the house, and whoever's the new class of winners, they move right in. So we're dealing with a captive audience that needs us and appreciates the finer things in life.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Well, I think any small business owner has been in a situation with cash flow is probably the most stressful thing. Having that payroll on Friday and not having the money on Wednesday, and you got to go out the door and collect money. There's been stressful situations with clients where project went off the rails and you had to do what you have to do to make it right. Even when we do something wrong, and no company is going to be a perfect 100% of the time, I try to illustrate with the client that, listen, we're not perfect, but I hope you appreciate that it's not that we're not perfect, but it's how we respond to it when there's a problem. And again, with that other client in the background, that architect or that builder that brought us in the picture, it may cost us a few dollars, but we ultimately want to make it right with the client so that they always have good things to say about us.
Yeah, very smart. What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I think for me, it's stepping out of the office and really building those relationships. Because in my first company, I was the bookkeeper, so I stayed behind the scenes, and I had a salesperson, I had a manager, and through my business career, and especially in sports and speaking in front of groups and crowds, I became more confident in myself. And so when I started Blue Claw, I just felt like it was a natural thing to go out and speak. And I answer my phone as soon as it rings. People always make fun of me because it's like one ring and I answer. And even if you have an unhappy client, it's better to answer the call and deal with the issue in the moment than to try to ignore people. So I would say, just being bold and going out there. Don't be afraid to ask for the business as well. And don't be shy. It's your company. You should be proud of it.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth? I mean, that's phenomenal, Ian. In 4 years, you've gone from 300 grand, 2 team members to 10 million and around 60 team members. That's very fast growth. What have you enjoyed least about over your 26-year career, I guess, in business?
I'll go back to my accounting. It's probably the office work,
Yep.
because when you're building a company that's fast growing, you don't have time to put people in all the places, and your cash flow is always going into the growth. So I'd say over the past year and a half, I've been able to hire a project manager. I have now 3 people in the office that do accounting and admin. This summer, we hired an experienced estimator, so that took all the estimating off my plate, because things are coming at you during the day and you don't have time to sit there and do that type of stuff. So then you end up doing it at night or on the weekends. And now I've been able to build a team that can kind of like run the paperwork flow and the management of the company, where I can just kind of orchestrate and oversee. And it gives me the freedom to go away and do workshops. But I would say that the part that I liked the least was definitely, being tied to the desk and having to, do all the compliance and all that kind of stuff.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
I love the thrill of growing the business, seeing that we're a major player in the marketplace, especially here in a short period of time. Getting that recognition from your peers, but also getting on the premium projects. And I found that it was similar to the adrenaline of when I had a sports team and we were on a road game, and the lights are going down and you're just the visiting team and you're ready to knock heads. That same adrenaline I can apply to this business, where we're going on to a really, 10-20 million dollar project, and the carpenters are looking at us like, oh, here comes the A team.
What's been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
I would say the biggest shift would be probably just learning how to treat people as individuals, and engaging them. Whereas before, being an office guy, I kind of like, here's your job, you do it. And now I want to be more engaging and helpful with them. I had little patience in the past for training. So I'd bring in an admin and I'd kind of go, here's your job. And then I'd go off and do my appointments, and they really wouldn't grow and develop. And then I'd be frustrated and want to do their work for them. But this time around, I've spent a lot more time, weeks and months, just training and doing stuff with them, even though I could do it faster. And then it's kind of like a kid when you put them on training wheels. It takes a while, and then after a while, they take the training wheels off, and then suddenly they're riding all over the place. So taking that kind of approach with employees has helped me grow the business to where I don't have to be involved in every little thing.
Yeah, I think I went through exactly that same journey that you've just described as well. The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I would say consistency, meaning that you keep a similar schedule so that you're available and your employees see you. They don't want to have an employee who they perceive as like, taking off and having the time of their life while they're all working and slaving for the company. But my employees, they want to see that I'm pulling the company as well. If I go to a project and I happen to grab some materials, I don't like go, hey guys, take it out of the back. I'll jump out of the back and start unloading it. And most of the time they'll say, boss, we got it. But it's just that gesture of like, I'm not above you.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And I think, being able to, treat people as human beings, ask them about their family. Buying meals will always go way farther than the cost of the meals. Like if you bring coffee to the job site or waters, or take a guy out to lunch, that's some of the best money you've ever spent, because it's a subliminal thing. It tells them that you care about them.
Yeah, that's that old saying, low economic costs and high perceived value, those things. Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com. Perfect question for you. You've owned obviously a few businesses, and particularly a sports team. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Well, I didn't take it lightly, but when I started Blue Claw, like I mentioned, my former employees were encouraging me to start again. And the fact that they would leave jobs they were at for 10 or 12 years with benefits to come back to work for me for a startup, I was kind of blown away by that, to be honest with you. And so when I was building the company, I made sure I never wanted to lure them away unless I had guarantee of full-time employment. And that kind of loyalty was instituted in them in my previous company. So that goes back to the way I treated them. Hey, boss, can I get a loan? I got to pay, a problem at home or whatever. And when you're always there for people, they will return that in value. And we kind of experienced a similar thing in sports because we had players that would come to our team, and we weren't the biggest budget team, but we did little things like we made sure they had individual apartments instead of shared. We had workout facilities for them. We had restaurant vouchers so they didn't have to buy their own food. And when we had to release them, we went and met with them in person. We explained them with the coach, hey, we have to go in another direction. This is why. And they appreciated that. And sometimes when they were on another team and something didn't work out and we needed a player, they would be willing to come back. Where I would hear other teams, they would say, I'm never going back there because they treated us like dirt.
Like shit. Yeah. What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
I think for us, benefits is big because the employees want to know that you're taking care of them, and you don't want to give them any reason or easy excuse to jump when someone offers them a buck or two more. So we give them health insurance, paid vacation, holidays, bonus, 401k, retirement matching. And I think, having new equipment is big now, especially the younger generation. They don't want to dig holes. They want to use levers and like they're playing a video game. So I think if you have, quality equipment and you're treating the guys right, they're going to feel like it's a profession and not just like a chore.
Yeah. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
Balance, as in my own life?
Yeah.
Probably not the best person to go into into this, but
at least you're honest.
I do have children. I have two older boys and a daughter who just turned 8, and so you got to make time for the family. I do get away quite a bit for my consulting business, like I said, and so sometimes I'll take them with me. But even it's not really like that you're spending super gobs of time with them, but it's really the quality time. So I think, definitely you don't want to ruin your family by being all in on business. But at the same time, it would be good if your family knows what you're doing in business and they understand the goals, because that way they're more likely to support you than to resent you.
Yeah, totally agree. How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Well, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, to be honest with you. And going back into the 90s, I went to numerous landscape conventions and trade shows and met people who were consultants in the industry, hired them, brought them back to my business, soaked up all the information. And then even this go around, no shortage of that. I think that anyone can learn at any stage. And, I learn from other people all the time. So I think that none of that is going to ever be detrimental. It's always going to be beneficial.
Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
I have. I've had role models both in business that I know generally just as friends, and I have had, like I said, consultants that were industry people that I looked up to.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
We do not. That's something that we're probably going to be looking into getting in the short term. We did in Canada for the league, obviously, and for the team.
You're one of the few guests we've had on that have exited a business. Do you have any advice for the audience that may be thinking about down the track getting out?
Well, I think the key thing is to run the business while you own it as if you're planning on selling it, even if you aren't right away. And, I'm a bit older now this go around, and so I'm not pretending that I'm going to be doing this for 20 or 30 more years. So I'm running Blue Claw as if I'm going to sell it tomorrow, even though it may not be for a decade. But, how you run your business, how you run your books, not commingling personal expenses, and those type of things. Run it as if you're going to sell it, because that's really the only way to get the real value out of the business when you do sell it.
Yeah, it's good advice. All right, Ian, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
I think the hardest thing is being able to understand the demands of cash flow and how you're going to finance that growth. And every business cycle is unique and every business type is unique. But I think you really need to get professionals involved early on and figure out how you're going to finance this thing, whether you need to go get an SBA loan or whether you're going to be able to bootstrap it yourself.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I would say The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
That's a great book. It's my favorite book as well. I recommend that to anyone that's thinking of starting, or even if they're going, if you want to get serious about growth, that is the number one book you need to read. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
So this is going to sound funny, but I joined a Facebook group called the GOAT Gang, and the GOAT stands for greatest of all time.
Yep.
And it was started by a landscaper in San Jose, California, named Tigran Gertz, who has a YouTube channel and quite a few followers. And so he created this private group for service contractors and landscapers to basically network with each other. And like I said, I have no partners. So when I wanted to share successes and challenges of the business, you know, your spouse and your three best friends, they'll listen to you for a while, but then they tune you out. So I joined this group to be able to bounce things back and forth with other owners. And right now there's about 850 of them around the country. And you can go and post videos about your job sites. You can put a problem you have and people will help you solve it. And I think that it's just been an amazing tool to be able to step outside of your own shoes, see what other people are doing, and have them bounce ideas back and forth to you. And really that was the genesis of my consulting business, was this network of people that started reaching out to me for help.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I would say learning to sell. Their videos and classes. Just do not sit inside and just look out the window and hope someone's going to call you. But don't be afraid to ask for the business. We preach reaching out to builders, architects, and designers for relationships. We have a conference here once a year called Building Better Connections. And that's one of the things that's rocketed our company to where it is being able to leverage those relationships, because once you become a trusted partner with a professional, they're going to start sending you all their clients because they know that you're going to treat them right and you're not going to alienate them from their client or embarrass them or anything like that, and that you do quality work. So I would say that selling is the number one tool that you need to have to grow a business.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 26 years ago?
Stay the course. Small business is not a straight line up.
Yep.
It's ups and downs and flying sideways, and there's going to be good days and bad days, but you see people that are successful went the long haul, and they basically figured out things that they were doing wrong along the way and kind of corrected their course. And eventually they got to a sweet spot where they were very successful.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for your time today, Ian. I think the audience will get a lot of value out of what you shared with us. Tremendous journey over 26 years, starting in landscaping and buying a sports team, and then back into landscaping and now masonry, etc. So phenomenal growth over the last 4 years with Blue Claw. As I said, 300,000 to 10 million this year and 60 team members. So congratulations to you and the team. That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.